Hello and welcome to the shopping spree portion of the Google Sheets assignment. Here you can see it's the purple tabs from down below. And make sure that you've already done the battleship part of this before, because this gets a little bit more advanced here. Don't be afraid if it looks super overwhelming at the start. I'm going to walk you through step by step how to make this happen. But first, the premise. The premise is that you are given $1,000 gift card from Amazon.ca, and you are trying to use your knowledge of computers and spreadsheets to help make sure that you spend every last cent of that $1,000. Companies love it when consumers do not, or even when they buy gift cards to begin with, because a lot of gift cards go missing. Others get stolen, others get not fully utilized. There's a whole bunch of things that could happen with a gift card. So we're going to try to use our knowledge of computers and spreadsheets to make sure that we spend every last cent. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and explain how to go about doing that. The only restrictions are that you have to have between 10 and 15 different items. You cannot buy gift cards with your gift card. We do, in the original premise of this, have tax to worry about, but we do not have shipping costs to worry about, at least at the start. Okay, so you can see here, column A, we've got a place to list our product names. Column B is asking for a list price. That's the price before any sales. So if you look down here at the example item that we're going to do together, you can see that the list price of this headset is $99.99, and it is currently on sale for $79.99. Anyway, we write the $99.99 here, so let's actually do this together. The product you can keep pretty short, so I'm just going to put in Monster Mission V1. That's all I'm going to do there. Over here, I'm going to put the original price, which is $99.99. You don't have to worry about column C at all. So just kind of skip past column C. What it's doing is it's telling you how much money you've saved already. There's already a formula that's figuring that out for you. And here it's saying we've saved 100%. Well, that's because we haven't put in the sale price yet. When we put in the sale price of $79.99, that's the part in red down here, we're going to see what happens to that discount savings, which says we're saving 20%. So 20%, Amazon is telling the truth down here, 20%. This is a Cyber Monday deal, so you are saving that much. Now, notice if the price wasn't on sale, you would just put in the same as the list price, $99.99, and it would tell you that we're saving 0%. But we're going to change that back, Control Z, to $79.99. Now, how am I finding items like this? Well, you just open up another tab. So go to Amazon.ca and do a search and for whatever you're interested in. There's tons of things on Amazon, from books to games to all kinds of different things, clothing, household items. So you can go ahead and you can find something that you would like from there. All right, so back into here now, we're going to go to the next column over, which is the quantity column. And for the quantity, that means how many of these items are you going to buy? Well, at the start, I'd recommend just saying one for each item. Okay, you can always adjust that later once we get closer to knowing we're near $1,000, because that is our budget, that is our limit. Okay, we're going to go over to the item total. And the item total has to have a formula here. I'm going to give you all of the formulas for the red sections. So here we can see anything in red on this needs a formula. And anything in blue, I want you to try to calculate on your own. Well, I'll give you some hints for that, but I'm not going to full out show you the equation for those. All right, so here, and we're currently in cell F2, where it says must be a formula here. I'm just going to press backspace to get rid of that. And you can now see that I'm actually in this and able to type what the formula is going to be. Now, formulas in Excel or in Google Sheets, they all start with the same thing. They all start with an equal sign. So I'm typing in the equal sign, and you can see it's also up here. This is where your equations are as well. And for this, what I want this to do is I want it to take the sale price, the price that I'm paying, and I want to multiply by the quantity. Okay, because that way, if I decide to change my mind and I want 3 of these instead of 1, it's going to automatically tabulate that math for me. So I could, for example, say 79.99. Now, times on a computer is the asterisk, so it's Shift and 8, and then I could say the number 1. And if I press enter on that, you can see it gave me the same amount. Now that's actually not that useful though, because it's taking me a lot of time to put in the numbers, and I might change my mind. I might want 3 of these later on. And if I had it set up this way, I'd have to go up here, I'd have to change this to 3, and it would get super confusing. So we're actually not going to do this formula that I just gave you. I was just giving you that as an example. Instead, we're going to use variables instead of constants. You should have learned this in math, or if not, you will this year. But a variable is just a placeholder of where an amount is going to be. And that amount might change over time. So we're going to say equal sign. Everybody can type this at the same time. I want the value that's in D2, so I'm actually just going to click on D2, and you can see it put in D2, and it's showing me that it's 79.99. Now I want Shift 8, the star, the asterisk, multiplying, and instead of just saying the number 1, I'm going to click where the 1 is. The 1 is in cell E2, so I click on that. So you can see now that my entire formula that's also showing up here is equal sign D2 times E2. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter on that. And you can see that it gives me $79.99. If you've done that correctly, you can test it out. What if I change my mind and I decide I want 15 of these? Well, if I want 15 of those, I can't afford it because that's more than $1,000 and I haven't even considered tax yet. So let's change that back to 1 and not be so greedy for now. All right, so now what we've got is our formula that works here, and I could go ahead and you're going to go ahead and shop for items that you want. You don't have to include this Monster Mission V1 headset. This is just an example of what you could do. I'd rather you shop for your own things. And I could go ahead and let's say my next item was going to be $25 and I'm going to get 4 of those. I could go ahead and sell F3 and I could say equal sign 25 times asterisk the place that the 4 is in, and that would give me 100. I could check to see if that works and change that to 10. It is working, 250. See how fast the computer does the math? That's the brilliance of computers, right? But I can do something even faster than this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take that formula out, backspace. I'm going to go back to the place that I actually had the formula working, which is cell F2. So everybody take a second and put your cursor in F2. You'll notice when you do that, it turns blue. And at this point, we're going to go down to the lower right-hand corner where you see a little blue box. That little blue box, you're going to take it once you get the crosshair. So watch my cursor carefully. It's a big arrow right now. When I go over that, it's a small black crosshair. Once you have the small black crosshair, you click and you hold, left click, hold with your mouse, and pull it down to the bottom of the red section. Now you can see what the computer did. It instantly did the math, but the beauty of it is it did the math for every single row that we have. Now you might be wondering, why are these all zeros? Well, that's because there are no amounts currently in this. But as you shop, if I had an item that's 60 here and I wanted 2 of them, it would do the math all of a sudden for you. So that's the beautiful part of this. Okay, so that's kind of the first step, is getting your column F to work so that it tells you how much you've spent before tax on each item. We're going to go further now in this video, and we're going to have it calculate how much we've spent in total before tax. So once you have column F working and you're happy with that, give yourself a pat on the back, and then move down to cell B18. You can see it says subtotal formula goes here. Now subtotal means your total before tax. Our goal here is to have one amount here that calculates all of this stuff together. So I'm going to go ahead and backspace out the text. And as you know, all formulas start with equal sign. And I could go ahead and I could say, well, it's going to be equal to F2 plus F3 plus F4, and I could go all the way down and I could press enter and that would work. But there's also some tricks in spreadsheets that if you know, it's going to save you a lot of time. So go ahead and backspace that out if you tried it at the same time. We're going to say equal sign, the sum, S-U-M. That means the total of adding things together. I'm going to open my bracket. And the reason I do an open bracket is now I've got to tell the computer what is it that I'm adding together. So I've got my open bracket, and now I'm going to go with my cursor, and with the big black arrow, not the crosshair, the big black arrow, I'm going to go and just click and hold down. Might take you a couple of tries, but try to get that entire red range. If you do, it will say F2 colon, that's the two dots, to F17. That is our range that we're summing. I'm going to close the brackets with Shift 0, and I'm going to press Enter. 104.99. Now do some mental math and ask yourself if that makes sense. Would 79.99 plus 25 equal 104.99? It would, so I think it's working, but I'll do another test here. Let's say I had a product here that's 80 and I want two of those. 160 added to that, and you can see that my amount is automatically changing now. This is completely set up for me to go about shopping. All I have to do is go to Amazon, find some items, plug them in, and remember, we're trying to get as close as possible to 1,000 without going over. Now keep in mind that even if you're at 1,001 cent, that's not going to work because a computer is a computer and it's just going to say you don't have enough money. So we can be slightly under, but we can't be over 1,000. Okay, so at this point, what I need is if you go down to, before you start doing the rest of your shopping, go down to B19, where it says tax formula goes here, backspace that, and now we want to figure out in this cell, how much is the tax going to cost us? So we always start with an equal sign, and if you remember how to find tax, what we do is we take the subtotal and we multiply it by 13%. Tax in Ontario is 13%. Okay, so I could do the 269 or 264.99 times 0.13, and that would give me the right amount. But as you might be realizing at this point, this number is going to change. So I don't want to use the number. I want to use the spot that the number is in, which is B18. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type B18 this time, just so you can see. You could also click on it, but you can type the cell if you prefer. Times, if you remember, is the asterisk, the little star Shift 8. And now 0.13 is the tax. That's going to be the 13%. I'm going to press enter, and tax on 264.99 is 34.45. You can see if I decide that I want 5 of these instead and I press enter, not only did the amount up here change, but the tax automatically adjusted too. So you can see here, if you spend $500, you have over $65 tax. All right. Now we're going to do 2 more things, and then we're going to stop this part of the video, and I'm going to let you work a little bit on that. Try to get just this part done. The grand total is the total after tax. So you might realize that, this is going to be somewhere near 570 if you're good at just mental math. But let's go ahead and get the computer to calculate the exact amount. Now this is a fairly easy equation. All we're doing is adding the tax to the subtotal. So we're going to take that out. We're going to press equal sign. And if you're learning, and if you're understanding any of this, you're going to know that I'm not going to do 504.99 plus 65.65 because those numbers are going to change. And although that would give me the right amount, once something changes up here, if I change this to 3, you can see that it's no longer adjusting this formula. Okay, these ones changed, and these one, oops, 33. Definitely over budget at this point. I'm going to change that back to 3. These ones changed, and this one did not. Okay, so let's fix that. We're going to get rid of that equation. Instead, we're going to type an equal sign, the place that the subtotal's in, which is B18. That time I clicked on it, plus, which is beside the backspace, the tax, B19. Enter. Okay, and now it's going to tell us how much we've spent after tax. And again, this is all going to change based on your numbers up here. The final thing is how much money is remaining. Maybe I'll leave you with a little bit of challenge here. We want to know how much we have left to spend. Well, remember that we had $1,000 originally. So you are going to do something like equal sign 1,000, because that's what we started with, minus which one of these would I have to take away to figure out how much money I have left to spend? That's what I want you to work on. I'm not going to give you the final answer there because I think you're capable of it, but try to figure out which one of these would I take away to find out how much money's left on my gift card. Okay, that's a big challenge. Try not to use the number again. Use the place that the number is in. Use the variable. That's the end of this tutorial on how to get started with the Amazon shopping spree. And I'll do one more video about some of the level 4 questions that you can try once you've got this. But ideally, how do you know if you're done this assignment? Well, if this number says exactly 1,000 and this number down here says exactly 0, then I think you got it. Okay, thanks for listening. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.